Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, global markets reporter at Nasdaq. Joining us for this segment, we have Chang. He's the co-founder and chief marketing officer of Genopets, as well as Kevin Kim, chief operating officer also of Genopets, to discuss video games as a tool for physical and mental wellness. Gentlemen, it's great to have you with us. Welcome to Trade Talks. And Jay, I want to kick it off with you. Let's get a high-level overview of game-to-earn trends.
Yeah, thanks for having us. I think games in Web3, or just why games have made such noise in this industry, it's been definitely a thing over the past year or two now. And I think it comes down to something a little bit almost around just like why games have ever mattered to new technologies as a whole. We've seen this repeatedly in history. You know, in 1970s, Pong was the first game that had people wanting to own computers. Pokemon Go got people outside on the streets with augmented reality, and of course, things like VR, et cetera, now bringing newer trends in with Oculus, et cetera. Games give people a motivation, a reason to want to learn new technologies. Beyond, again, for crypto specifically, something that's been predicated around earning and how much I can make from crypto has been the start of the conversation for the last few years. But I think games is starting to give people a reason to want to learn crypto beyond just how much money could come out of a potential investment.
And Jay, tell us more about Genopets. What was the genesis behind it?
Yeah, and that's actually kind of that's what started us down this trend, because the previous project we were working on called GenoOS, my two co-founders Albert and Ben, were looking at an NFT marketplace that would make an NFT out of your health data, and researchers or pharmaceuticals would utilize that health data at scale in the aggregate for research, similarly to how your data is packaged up and sold today, but you as the individual owner of that data would get to see some passive income from the use of your health data. The thing that it was always missing, we realized, was fun. Yes, you could earn some passive income from staying healthy and active, but what would really hook people to want to do that, especially as you scaled it out? So from the start, the idea was, could we make a pet or use some intrinsic motivation like a pet to represent your health data and build a game out of the experience of staying healthy and active, and find ways for you to earn passive income that way. I skip going to the gym, but I don't skip feeding my dog. So that's the angle we're building on.
You know what, Jay, it's so interesting, particularly with Gen Z and younger generations, where virtually everything is gamified. And that is the motivation to your point, if you feed the dog, it's gamified in some way. Even if you go to the gym, you could gamify that as well. And to your point earlier, that it's not necessarily crypto that has Gen Z interested in these types of technologies, but it really does come down to game to earn and all of the different things that you can do with gaming and NFTs. So it's really interesting to see how those dynamics work with the different demographics. Kevin, let's switch gears a bit and get a little bit more on the technical side here. Tell me about video games as a tool for wellness and why you think it's on the rise.
Yeah, I think game developers have become very, very good at incentivizing the types of behaviors that will lead to great profits for them across the player base, right? So right now, if you look at the mobile game market and the free-to-play game market, you'll see basically master classes in essentially convincing players to exchange screen time and attention for dollars, that they're willing to pay content the longer they're on the screen. They're willing to pay for other things, conveniences, in-app purchases, so on. I think the next phase, and certainly within our team, which is full of passionate gamers and people who have worked in gaming as well, what's really interesting to us now is, hey, we have figured out how gamification can separate people from the dollars in their wallets. What if we started to utilize some of these mechanics to drive behaviors that are reaching for something a little bit higher? So in our game, if you want to do anything with your pet, you have to move first. The steps you take are tracked and ported into the game as the energy pool, the action points that will fund pretty much any other in-game action. So if you enjoy our game and you want to play it, you're going to have to move. You're going to have to be active. And that's sort of the first step for us in terms of integrating, these time-honored gamification mechanics that drive certain behaviors in mobile free-to-play games, to now reorienting them towards something that's a little bit more aspirational than just increased in-app purchases or microtransactions.
So tell us about the Genopets platform more specifically.
Yeah, so on the one hand, we are a native mobile app on iOS and Android. which essentially is a fitness-based pet care RPG, similar to what Jay described. He likes to call it a Tamagotchi for the 21st century. If anyone remembers that game from the early aughts, it was a little pet that you had to take care of. Now we've got this pet that you take care of by taking care of yourself. The other side to this, which might be of more interest to the crypto enthusiasts, is this pet care RPG is built on top of the Solana blockchain, and the actual game assets, the pets themselves, their homes, are not just interesting and compelling pieces of the game narrative and the RPG itself, but also tokenized assets that the players can own. They can transact freely with one another. They can completely take out of the system if they'd like. And this level of decentralization and opening of the system is something that we think is pivotal to how we're approaching the design of the game overall. It allows players from the very first day to have a stake in the game and for them to actually feel the ownership that they deserve as they invest time and energy into the game.
And Jay or Kevin, whoever wants to take this question, you certainly are getting notice and funding from strategic partners. So tell us a little bit about that and what this funding is allowing Genopets to do.
Yeah, I think from the beginning, our seed round was earlier last year. More recently, we did announce working with Samsung Next on a recent investment too, and it's been really exciting to have the support from larger brands, but also a really strong community that has been backing Genopets from day one. We did launch the mobile app version of the game in beta more recently, but we've been building game experience around the narrative of Genopets with our additional seed support since last November. So it's really been a growing community that's been supporting this model and really buying into the narrative of what it is we're establishing here, to be able to support something like a free-to-play mobile game that does remove the barriers of entry that you've seen in other crypto games, that does make it fun and rewarding to live an active lifestyle from day one before you have to pay money to get started in the game. And I think that's something really important for us, why we were looking to obviously acquire investment, obviously build a community bootstrapped, grassroots from the ground up, was so that we could build a more sustainable GameFi model that would be more accessible to a wider gamer audience than maybe your traditional crypto games as they've come out thus far in the industry.
Yeah, I think using the word accessibility is certainly key there. And Jay, I want to end on a little bit of a lighter note. And Kevin, I'm going to follow up with you with this question. How did you get into this particular field? Was it more the technology or the gaming side? As you were growing up and going through school, if you went to school or not, was this something you always wanted to do? What was the motivation to get into newer technologies such as NFTs and Meta and so forth?
Sure. I guess I go real quick first. I got my first Bitcoin in 2013. It was random at a conference I was producing, and Brock Pierce gave it to me. Some people may know who Brock Pierce is. He just randomly was like, "You should learn about this thing called crypto. It's super exciting." I forgot about it like most for a long time, but around 2016, 17, when I realized you could build applications on top of crypto, I started seeing the opportunity to use blockchain technology and what we now call Web3, more colloquially, I guess, to create a new experience between technology developers and users. So the relationship we have, and Kevin started to allude to this, between the consumers of our app, the players of our app, and us as the publisher is very different from the way traditional game publishers and users, players of games have had in the past. And that's something that only blockchain, Web3, crypto can really facilitate, this ability for the entire community to contribute and share in the growth of the platform, not just be a game developer that makes stuff and sells it to you. So I think that opportunity, seeing that from the very beginning, the decentralized aspects of crypto, was something I recognized as where this industry would go to really, revolutionize business models and create new opportunity.
And it's so interesting that you say that, Jay, because even if we talk about on a higher level, NFTs as an example, you see athletes and celebrities leveraging that kind of technology because you kind of remove the agents and the producers and the film studios and so forth, and it gives them a way to interact with their communities and their fans, because as you're very well aware of, especially in sports, your career is very finite. And it's a way to continue to be active and distribute your brand and unlock these experiences. So I would agree with you. It's not necessarily what's happening in Bitcoin or Ethereum that's attractive, but the underlying infrastructure that opens up all these possibilities. And to your point, not just gamers. And so, Kevin, let me wrap up with you. Same question. Was this knew you wanted to do, or what inspired you with this kind of technology to firmly root yourself in this space?
Yeah, definitely not something I thought I would be doing. Before this project, I'd spent close to a decade in what you might call one of the more traditional Web2 gaming businesses. I worked in sports betting and online casino. And so to me, what drew me first and foremost was actually just the concept of the game aspect itself. So as I alluded to before, our team's full of passionate gamers. We are all fans first. And to me, this idea of a pet care RPG where you have to move to play. I mean, I think some of our predecessors, Pokemon Go, other analogs in the market have shown that games don't just have to be about sitting in a chair and spending screen time, but taking this idea of active movement, turning that into data that that plays a critical role in the inherent gameplay itself, and then utilizing that to further motivate or incentivize helpful or active actions for our players. That idea to me was super interesting, and that's what pulled me in. And the crypto side for me, I think, is really exciting, but more as something that lives under the hood that allows us to create this sort of experience. First and foremost, I mean, like it's a pet that's an NFT that grows in value the more you walk. I mean, to me, that's super captivating and kind of a harbinger of where I think increased development and innovation in gaming is going to come.
All right, Kevin, Jay, appreciate the insight. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.
Thank you.